A warm welcome to the medical students and my medical colleagues. In this episode, I will be discussing the topic ulcer. The main topic is subdivided into definition and parts, common types, types of age, classification, features, history taking, general examination, local examination, investigation, and management of the ulcer. Starting with the definition and parts. An ulcer is defined as a disintegration in the continuity of the covering epithelium, which can be skin or mucous membrane, which may either follow necrosis of the surface or due to its traumatic removal. An ulcer has got the following parts. Margin is the junction between the normal epithelium and edge of the ulcer. It may be regular or irregular. Edge is the area between margin and floor of the ulcer. Floor is the visible exposed area of the ulcer, and base is the area on which the ulcer floor rests. A diagram showing various parts of the ulcer: margin, edge, floor, and the base. Part 2. Common types of ulcer. The common types of ulcers are arterial or ischemic ulcer, venous ulcer, traumatic ulcer, trophic or neurogenic ulcer, diabetic ulcer, ulcer due to infection like tuberculosis, syphilis, tropical ulcer, decubitus ulcer or pressure sore. Part 3. Types of edge of an ulcer. The different types of edge are: 1 is sloping edge, which is seen in venous ulcer or healing ulcer. Type 2 is punched out edge, which is seen in gummatous ulcer or trophic ulcer. It occurs due to obliteration of a specific arterial branch. Type 3 is undermined edge, which is seen in tuberculosis and Melanese ulcer. The bacteria destroy subcutaneous tissue faster than the skin, leaving an overhanging, thin and friable skin. Type 4 is raised and beaded edge, which is seen in basal cell carcinoma or rodent ulcer. It occurs because of central necrosis in the malignant growth. And type 5 is raised and everted edge, which is seen in squamous cell carcinoma. The edge of the ulcer is fast growing, so spills over on the normal epithelium. A diagram showing different types of edge of an ulcer. Figure A is showing sloping edge. Figure B is showing punched out edge. Figure C is showing undermined edge. Figure D is showing raised and beaded edge, while figure E is showing raised and everted edge. Moving on to part 4, which is classification of an ulcer. An ulcer can be classified clinically or pathologically. In clinical classification, type A is spreading ulcer, in which the surrounding skin and edge is inflamed, swollen and painful. The floor is covered with purulent discharge. The surrounding lymph nodes are enlarged and painful. Type B is healing ulcer, in which the surrounding skin is normal, margin is bluish, the edge and floor are covered with red granulation tissue, and there is a small amount of serous discharge. And type C is chronic ulcer, in which the surrounding skin, edge and base are indurated. The floor is covered with pale granulation tissue with minimal discharge. In pathological classification, type A is non-specific ulcer, for example, venous ulcer, arterial ulcer, traumatic ulcer, neurogenic ulcer or trophic ulcer. Ulcer associated with malnutrition like tropical ulcer, and ulcer associated with systemic disease like diabetes, gout, anemia and rheumatoid arthritis. Miscellaneous ulcers like Bazin's ulcer, in which the ulcer is seen in obese adolescent individuals over the calf area, and Martorell's ulcer, in which ulcer occurs over the leg in hypertensive patients. Type B is specific ulcer, which occurs due to a specific agent like tuberculosis, syphilis, actinomycosis, staphylococcus. And type C is malignant ulcer seen in various malignancies like squamous cell carcinoma, basal cell carcinoma, and malignant melanoma. Part 5, Features of an ulcer. The features of venous ulcer are: they occur commonly in elderly individuals around 50 to 60 years, those who are suffering from deep venous thrombosis. It is more common in women. They are usually painless and located on the medial aspect of the lower one third of the leg. The venous ulcers are usually flat and shallow. The surrounding skin is pigmented and eczematous. The edge is sloping with pale blue-red color and floor is covered with pale granulation tissue. They are initially painful and they become painless once they are chronic. The chronic ulcers may develop into carcinoma, which is called as Marjolin's ulcer. The features of arterial or ischemic ulcer are: they commonly occur in elderly individuals around 50 to 70 years, those who are suffering from peripheral vascular disease like atherosclerosis, Burgess disease, or Raynaud's disease. The ulcers are precipitated by trauma or infection of the affected skin. They are commonly painful and located on the toes, heel, and dorsum of the foot. The edge is usually punched out, and signs of ischemia like pallor, dry and glistening skin, loss of hair, fissuring of nails are present in the surrounding area, and there is a history of claudication pain in the affected limbs. Traumatic ulcers can be caused because of chemical trauma like acid or alkali burns, physical trauma like radiation burns or lightning strike, or they can be caused by mechanical trauma like that of a jagged tooth. A diabetic ulcer, which is caused by a combination of diabetic arteriopathy and diabetic neuropathy. The Wagner classification of diabetic foot ulcer is: in stage 1 there is partial or full thickness superficial ulcer. In stage 2 there is deep ulcer extending to the ligament, tendon or bone. In stage 3 there is deep abscess or osteomyelitis. In stage 4 there is partial foot gangrene, and in stage 5 there is whole foot gangrene. A neurogenic or trophic ulcer occurs because of repeated trauma over an insensitive area of skin. The pressure bearing sites like heel, elbow, occiput, scapula, and buttock are commonly affected. The 4 stages of neurogenic ulcer are: stage 1, there is erythema or induration or tenderness of the skin. In stage 2, there is blistering and superficial erosion of the skin. In stage 3, there is ulceration with discharge or eschar formation. And in stage 4, there is an ulcer involving deep structures like ligaments and bones. Tuberculous ulcer occur because of caseous necrosis and rupture of an abscess in the lymph node. The neck, axilla, and groin are commonly affected areas. The lymph nodes are enlarged, non-tender, and matted. In syphilis, the primary stage is characterized by a single hard chancre occurring over the external genitalia after an incubation period of 3 to 4 weeks. The ulcer is painless and the base is indurated. The lymph nodes are enlarged, painless, discrete, and they do not separate. The tertiary stage of syphilis is characterized by formation of gummatous ulcers over the skin over bony prominences like sternum, skull, and tibia. They occur because of obliterative endarteritis of the small arteries. The edge is punched out, floor is covered with washed leather slough. A soft chancre or Ducrey's ulcer is caused by Haemophilus ducreyi after an incubation period of 3 to 4 days. The ulcers are multiple and painful, and the lymph nodes are enlarged, which are called as bubo in the groin area. They are often tender and separate. A Melanese ulcer is an ulcer caused in the postoperative wounds over the abdomen and thorax. They occur after surgery which was performed for perforated viscus or empyema thoracis. The ulcer occurs because of symbiotic infection with microaerophilic hemolytic staphylococcus and non-hemolytic streptococcus. The ulcers are frequently rapidly spreading and painful. They are undermined edge and often associated with purulent discharge. If they are not diagnosed at an early stage, they can frequently lead to toxemia and death of the patient. Marjolin's ulcer is a squamous cell carcinoma in a chronic ulcer or a burn scar. It is a slow growing, painless ulcer and is a less malignant variant of squamous cell carcinoma. From the traditional squamous cell carcinoma, Marjolin's ulcer differs in that the edge is not raised or everted, the lymph nodes are not commonly involved, and it is usually resistant to radiation due to extensive fibrosis and avascularity. Part 6, History taking. The following history will be taken. Part 1 is the mode of onset, which might be spontaneous or traumatic. Spontaneous ulcers usually occur in benign conditions like varicose veins, tuberculosis, or malignant conditions like squamous cell carcinoma or malignant melanoma. The traumatic ulcers usually heal spontaneously after removal of the traumatic agent. Part 2 is duration of the ulcer. Acute ulcers are usually traumatic and chronic ulcers are usually malignant. Type 3 is pain. Painful ulcers are usually traumatic or inflammatory. Painless ulcers are usually malignant. Part 4 is the type of discharge. Serous discharge is seen in healing ulcer. Purulent is seen in infected ulcer and bloody discharge is seen in malignant ulcer. And the part 5 is presence of associated conditions. Generalized benign conditions like diabetes, malnutrition, tuberculosis or localized malignant tumors are associated with chronic non-healing ulcers. Part 7, General examination of an ulcer. The following general examination is done. In a case of arterial ulcer, the peripheral pulses palpation is done. In trophic ulcer, neurological examination is done. In tuberculous ulcer, weight and nutritional status of the patient is checked, chest examination is done and lymph node examination is done. In a patient with syphilitic ulcer, signs of syphilitic stigmata are to be looked for. Some of the signs are on the head, alopecia, frontal bossing of parrot can be seen. On the face, saddle nose, interstitial keratitis, nasal septum perforation may be seen. In the ear, there is 8 nerve deafness, otitis externa. In the joints, Clutton's joints may be present. In the mouth, hard palate perforation, glossitis, Hutchinson's teeth, mulberry molars, condylomas, hypoplastic maxilla or prominent mandible may be present. In the thorax, there might be thickening of medial clavicle, scaphoid scapulae. In the groin, there may be presence of enlarged lymph nodes or gummatous orchitis, and in the leg, saber tibia may be present. Part 8, Local examination. The following inspection is done. The shape of an ulcer. Circular ulcers are usually arterial ulcer. Oval are venous ulcers. Serpiginous are syphilitic ulcers. Irregularly crescentic are tuberculous ulcers. And irregular ulcers are usually malignant ulcers. The size of an ulcer might be small or big. It helps in assessing the time required to heal of an ulcer. The location of an ulcer can help towards diagnosis. Over the head, on the skull, gummatous ulcers are common. Over the face, lupus ulcer or rodent ulcers are common. Over the neck, tuberculous ulcers are seen. In the axilla, again tuberculous ulcers are common. Over the sternum, in the chest area, gummatous ulcers are common. Over the hand and fingers, lupus ulcers are common. In the groin, syphilitic ulcers or lymphogranuloma venulum ulcers are common. Over the tibia, gummatous ulcers are seen, and over the medial malleolus of the leg, venous ulcers are common. Over the heel, trophic ulcers are seen, and over the toes, arterial ulcers are common. And a malignant ulcer can occur in any part of the body. The edge of an ulcer is inspected. A sloping edge might be seen in venous ulcers or healing ulcer. A punched out edge is seen in arterial ulcer. trophic ulcer or gummatous ulcer, and undermined edge can be seen in tuberculous ulcer or Melanese ulcer. A raised and beaded edge will be seen in rodent ulcer, and a raised and everted edge is seen in squamous cell carcinoma. The floor and associated discharge is inspected. Bone might be seen in trophic ulcer. Slough and purulent discharge, if it is present, it is seen in infected spreading ulcer. A red granulation tissue with serous discharge is characteristically seen in healing ulcer, and a black covering over the floor is usually seen in melanoma. The surrounding area is also inspected. If it is edematous, reddish and shiny, it suggests an acutely spreading ulcer. The palpation of an ulcer is carried out through the following points. Tenderness. An acutely inflamed ulcer will always be very tender. A tuberculous ulcer or syphilitic ulcer may be somewhat tender. A venous ulcer is sometimes tender, while a malignant ulcer is usually never tender. Edge and margin of the ulcer are palpated. Tenderness is seen in acutely spreading ulcer. Mild induration may be present in chronic ulcer, and marked induration is seen in malignant ulcer. The base is palpated. It might be mildly indurated, which is suggestive of chronic ulcer, markedly indurated, which is suggestive of malignant ulcer. A malignant ulcer also bleeds on touch. Fixity of the ulcer to underlying structures is checked. If the ulcer is freely mobile, it is usually seen in tuberculous ulcer. If the ulcer base is fixed, it suggests a malignant ulcer or a gummatous ulcer. The surrounding area is palpated. If there is raised temperature and tenderness, it might be an acutely spreading inflamed ulcer. If there is induration and fixity to the surrounding skin, there might be a presence of malignant ulcer. If there is loss of sensation, it might be a neurological or trophic ulcer. If there is loss of pulsation, it might be an arterial ulcer. And if there are presence of dilated and tortuous veins, it might be a venous ulcer. In palpation of the regional lymph nodes, in the case of tuberculous ulcer, the regional lymph nodes might be matted, mildly tender. In case of Hunterian chancre, there might be presence of hard, discrete and shorty lymph nodes. In an acutely spreading ulcer, the lymph nodes may be tender. In the case of malignant ulcer, the lymph nodes may be hard and fixed. While in the case of gummatous ulcer or rodent ulcer, the lymph nodes are usually not involved. Part 9. Investigation. The following investigations are done. Routine blood and urine examination, in which complete blood count, blood and urine sugar and erythrocyte sedimentation rate is done. In microscopy, you might be able to see acid-fast bacilli in the case of tuberculosis or Treponema pallidum bacilli in dark ground elimination. A wound culture may grow specific organisms like Staphylococcus, Streptococcus or Pseudomonas. An edge biopsy of the ulcer should be done in a chronic non-healing ulcer and always to be done in a malignant ulcer. A Mantoux skin test is done in a suspected case of tuberculosis, while in X-ray, a chest X-ray can be done to look for signs of pulmonary tuberculosis or metastatic lung deposits. A joint X-ray can be done to look for signs of syphilitic ulcer involvement like a saber tibia or Clutton's joints or involvement by a malignant ulcer. A Doppler ultrasound as well as a contrast radiograph are useful in diagnosing arterial and venous ulcers. Part 10. Management of an ulcer. The following systemic and local measures are applied in managing an ulcer. In the systemic measures, broad IV antibiotics, analgesics, anti-inflammatory, lipid-lowering and antipyretic agents are used. Specific antibiotics as per wound culture report targeting Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Pseudomonas, Treponema, Haemophilus or Mycobacterium can be given. Correction of anemia, electrolyte imbalance and blood sugar is done. Correction of protein, mineral and vitamin insufficiency, correction of hypertension and blood sugar, anticoagulants for deep venous thrombosis, avoiding tobacco products, excessive alcohol consumption, and weight reduction. In local measures, the medical measures which can be taken are removal of the traumatic agents like that of a jack tooth, local debriding agents like hydrogen peroxide or Edinburgh solution of lime, polymeric films which allow water vapor permeation, hydrocolloids which are impermeable to fluids, alginates which absorb exudates, and antibiotic coated gauzes can be used. Among the growth factors, recombinant platelet derived growth factor which stimulates angiogenesis and epithelial growth factor which stimulates epithelialization can be used. Negative suction therapy like vacuum assisted closure therapy may be tried. Among the surgical measures, mechanical desloughing can be done. Superficial split thickness skin graft, which is also called as Thier's graft, can be done. It is usually harvested from the thigh. Full thickness skin graft, which is also called as wolf graft, can be done. It is usually harvested from the neck or the anterior abdominal wall or groin or ear lobule. A composite graft in which skin with underlying structure like fascia, muscle, cartilage or bone is done wherever required, and a pedicle flap to cover deep ulcer defects with exposed underlying bone, cartilage or tendon may be done. And that is the end of the discussion for the topic ulcer. If you have any questions, please put in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe if you find the content useful, and stay tuned as the next topic to be covered will be hernia. Thank you and have a nice day.